Woodward bets in the house on a Wednesday night. Beer and Scott back with you. Hope everybody out there is doing great. Scott, the board behind you says it all, my man. And again, I don't want to spend a ton of time tooting our own horns here, but show me another show or another website that's giving you 9 straight winners here in our best bet segment. 5-0 last night. Once again, giving you college basketball winners, giving you NBA winners, handing out winners left and right, as the graphic says there. So 9-0, buddy. We got to talk about it here. So hopefully the people out there are taking advantage and getting on the bandwagon with us here. I think we've proven ourselves here over the first couple months of this show that we know what we're doing. We put a lot of time and thought and energy into this, and the results have spoken for themselves. So, Scott, how are you, my man?
Oh man, we talk about lunch money. I hit myself a nice little 4-team parlay yesterday with our picks. I tried to throw that over in on that Sparty game, but DK said no, you can't parlay 2 things on the same game. That happens sometimes. So I just threw it in as a 4-teamer, and then I thought, Chris, the one I'm going to lose is the one that's going to be the Utah game. So I probably should try to figure this out and maybe mix up some stuff. And then I thought, nah, I'm just going to roll with it. And then all 4 hit for us, all 5 actually. So that is 9-0. I mean, that is a hell of a start. I mean, man, and we're doing it for free at this point. But make sure you guys get over there, at least check out our sponsor at least. But damn, I mean, 9-0, Chris, that's incredible. I had a few of my buddies actually texted me last night and asked if we were from the future or something like that. And I told them that I did find the sports almanac here recently in the trash. So you guys probably should start taking advantage of this.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to tell anybody. We hooked up with Biff and got the sports almanac, and we're using it to our advantage. So, again, these picks are free right now. I can't say they're going to be free forever as this thing grows. So, take advantage, get in on the movement. First thing you need to do, follow us on Twitter, at Woodward Bets. We got a lot more stuff coming down the pike. So you want to be in early on that. Make sure you're following the network as well at Woodward Sports. A lot of our stuff gets put out there. And lastly, head over to the sponsor. That's a great way to hang out and show your love for the show is support the sponsor, and that's Underdog Fantasy. And what we've done, we've got you a free offer here. You deposit $10. We're going to get you $10 free to use on Underdog with promo code WSN. Best ball drafts, props, snake drafts in the NBA, NFL, all the major sports are there. Buy-ins as low as $1 all the way up to the high stakes. So make sure you guys are going and checking this out on Apple, on Google Play, on your desktop, whatever's easier for you. It's Underdog Fantasy, promo code WSN. So the plan for today, Scott, again, going to kind of recap some season-long pickups. I know a lot of people's waivers are on Wednesday nights, so we'll recap what we saw on Tuesday nights in some of our leagues. We'll take a look at our Tilted segment, of course, and let you sound off on some things that are bothering you in the sports world. So if you guys want to get in on that, remember, every Wednesday we do that. You can send them over to us here at Woodward Bets, and we'll take a look at the most acquired, most dropped players, and then we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to dive into the NFL slate here on Wednesday, like we normally do on Sunday. We're going to give you some of our favorite plays in DFS. We're going to break these games down, see if there's any bets we want to make early. No best bets in the NFL for that. You'll have to come back on Sunday and check out our updated thoughts on the slate. But wanted to get this out, let it marinate for a few days, give you guys time to consume it whenever you get a chance to watch it. So we'll do it. See if you guys like the format. If you don't, please sound off. If you do, let us know as well. Again, at Woodward Bets, the best place to reach out, or at G_Ryzen. I am at Beer Makers Fan. So, Scott, let's talk waivers. And yes, we will talk some NBA at the end. I know a lot of people want to continue this roll. Hopefully we stay hot with some basketball picks. We'll save some time at the end and give you some NBA thoughts. And, of course, we'll always end the show with our best bet segment. So stay tuned for that coming up later in the show. So, waivers last night, Scott, what was out there? We talked about a lot of running backs being available. Guys like Jordan Howard, Devontae Freeman, a lot of wide receivers as well, Elijah Moore. The situation with Cleveland, we know Ernest Johnson was let go in a lot of leagues. He's picked back up. So let's look at the most acquired people so far. So a lot of names I just ripped off there. You add Brandon Ayuk, who we spoke about, really starting to come into his own once again. Chris Boswell coming off that big game as a kicker ad for people who lost their kicker to injury, COVID with Zerloin, or a bye week. Freiermuth obviously becoming a very popular tight end ad the way he's playing right now. And then guys like Tim Patrick and Nyheim Hines rounding out the list here, Scott. So anything surprising here? All guys playing pretty well. I don't see any major surprises on this list. Maybe the fact that Ernest Johnson was dropped in the first place. Brandon Ayuk, another guy I'm surprised was dropped, but quickly scooped back up by the people out there.
Yeah, Ernest Johnson, especially with Chubb having these issues that he's having this week, is going to be a guy that I tried to make sure. That was the first guy I was looking when I hit running backs in all my leagues to see if there was any Ernest Johnson anywhere. Really didn't find him anywhere, Chris, so I couldn't land him. And then Jordan Howard was another guy. And then a guy that's not on this list, Brandon Bolden, I thought he was interesting too, as kind of a guy that may be out there in a lot of leagues that probably has not been scooped up, because we see with Harris and Stevenson, both are in the concussion protocol, so they have not cleared yet. So I think Bolden's interesting as well. Freiermuth is a guy that, man, this guy's just been getting all sorts of different touchdowns here lately. So I like Freiermuth, especially against the Lions. And then, like you mentioned, Brandon Ayuk, I would have never dropped him in the first place. But he's had some pretty strong games here recently. So I definitely like some Ayuk here moving forward. He's got a pretty easy schedule.
Yep, no doubt. And I like the Bolden call. I still like hanging on to Ramondre Stevenson. You just never know with those New England running backs who it's going to be. So we'll see who's able to work back into that lineup. Both of those guys left the game early last week. So let's look at some of the drops here. Khalil Herbert leading the way, no surprise. David Montgomery was back in that lineup, saw the majority of the work there. So it looks like Khalil Herbert can be safely let go if you have the depth. I like keeping on these running backs as much as I can. So unless he's your absolute worst player, then go ahead and cut him. Boston Scott, kind of the same thing there with Philadelphia. We're seeing a big rotation there with Jordan Howard kind of taking over as the lead back. Jordan Love, a temporary ad by some, I'm sure. As a Green Bay fan, it was an awful performance. He did some stuff at the end, but clearly not ready yet. Sounds like Aaron Rodgers should be back, but we won't know that until the Saturday before that showdown with Seattle. That's the earliest that he can be cleared. Bryan Edwards, this one, Scott, I expected a lot out of him. No Henry Ruggs. We knew Renfro was going to get targets. We knew Waller. I thought Bryan Edwards could step into a bigger role. Didn't do anything. Goose egg on the board in that game last week. So tough to trust him right now. Tyrod Taylor was back. Didn't do a whole lot with Houston. Jeremy McNichols, this one a little surprising. I know it was all Adrian Peterson. Now they bring in Deonta Foreman. So I still think McNichols can have a role in a PPR format. Chuba Hubbard let go with Christian McCaffrey back. Zerloin, like I spoke about, COVID with him. So he will be out likely this week. Kadarius Toney, the struggles continue here. A couple big weeks earlier in the season, but I just haven't seen much from him lately. And then CJ Uzoma, kind of the same thing there with Cincinnati. So couple surprises here. McNichols again. I think people bailing a little bit early. Chuba Hubbard, I would hang on to. He wasn't great when McCaffrey was gone, but Scott, as you know, McCaffrey tends to get hurt every other week. So those two a little head scratching, but for the most part, this list makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Chuba Hubbard one. I have Chuba in quite a bit of my leagues. I'm definitely hanging on to him. And as I said a week or two ago, Chris, man, if you got McCaffrey playing for a week or two and you're a McCaffrey owner, I got burned last year kind of thinking the same thing. Comes back for a week or two, and then he goes out for 3-4 more weeks, and then you're going to stretch it out into the playoffs. If McCaffrey gives it a go this week and gets through this week, I'd trade him. I wouldn't even hesitate. I'd get what you can for him, because I just think that he's just going to get hurt again. We've seen it over and over. So Chuba definitely is a guy that I'd hold on to, and I'm going to be on the side of everybody else here. And I'm going to get rid of Kadarius Toney. It just seems like this guy is just a ticking time bomb, just waiting to explode. But Chris, before we hopped on, our boy Easy asked us a question, and we might as well put it out there. He said, "Hey, who should I pick up, Peoples-Jones or Jackson now with the Raiders?" So want to hear what you had to think on that one. I think I'd kind of lean Peoples-Jones, but just want to hear what you had to think.
Yeah, Donovan Peoples-Jones for me. I'm not enamored with either of them, to be honest. Cleveland, they're going to spread the ball out. They're going to run the ball. And I know this week it's just Ernest Johnson. They will add somebody as well. They're not going to pound the ball to one guy. We saw that last week. Even with Odell Beckham now gone, Jarvis Landry didn't get, suddenly 14, 15 targets. So Peoples-Jones, more of a boom bust. We saw the big play. That kind of saved his day. I think that's what you're going to get out of him every single week with a little bit more consistency than you will with the other guy who's very boom bust. That's Sean Jackson, who we know can make plays, but you really need that deep ball every week. He's not a guy that's going to come in and garner 8, 9, 10 targets a week. So both very boom busty type plays here. I feel a little bit better about Peoples-Jones and his role in this offense. So agree, disagree? Thoughts on that one real quick?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's just Deshaun Jackson is definitely boom or bust. I can't see them using him as a possession type receiver. So definitely see him being a bigger boom or bust. So I think both are risky, but I think Peoples-Jones probably has the better floor every week.
Yeah, and if you want your question answered, we'll dig into it just like we did with this one. We do that every Friday. You can send those to us at Woodward Bets on Twitter. So had some great questions coming in the last couple weeks. So keep those coming, whether it's season long, DFS strategy questions, dynasty questions, betting questions, whatever it may be. We'll pick the best 5, and we'll do those live on the show every single Friday. So make sure you guys are sending those in. Again, follow us over on Twitter at Woodward Bets. So Scott, KMA Day, Wednesday. So I know you always have a few things that, it's got you chapped up. So what is it here on this Wednesday, KMA? And again, if you guys are out there, you got a KMA, we want to hear it from you. But Scott's been on a roll here with this KMA. So what do you got here? Wednesday, week 9, I guess, KMAs. What are we thinking here?
The first KMA's got to go to these referees in the NFL with these taunting penalties. It's just getting ridiculous. I know we all saw the clip of the referee backing up into, I think it was number 59 on the Bears. It just seems like they were picking on the guy, but he did seem to kind of bring it upon himself. I saw him do like a high karate kick, and he's like running all around. I mean, I get there's a lot of emotion, but the NFL is just trying to definitely just hash that out, just get rid of it out of the game. Whether we agree with it or not, that is what they're trying to do. But I think some of these crews are just taking a little bit too far, and especially we don't need this kind of crap. Basically, having an effect on the game where, I mean, it's affecting the point spread, it's affecting the game as a whole. So I do not like these penalties. So hopefully those go away. So definitely have been tilted about that, Chris. That is just bugging me to no end. And then one other one here that I'm going to bring up is one too that kind of gets me here with this college football poll that came out yesterday. And I get it. The Sparties beat Michigan. They're ahead of Michigan. But do we really care? We still got 3 weeks to go. Stop whining about everybody. It's all going to play out in the end. And I can almost assure you, somehow, some way, they'll find a way to put the Buckeyes in. Even if they got 2 losses or whatever else, we'll be the guys on the outside looking in like usual. So, you know what, everybody, let's just pipe down a little bit. It'll all play out on the field, and we'll see what happens in the end. But definitely not worth getting your panties in a bunch over it at this point in time.
No, I think that's the only reason they come out early is to give people stuff to talk about, and a lot of these shows can talk about it, and people can talk about they're Michigan, they're better than Michigan State. How do you say that when you lost to them? And Michigan State, we're better. Well, maybe Michigan's played a tougher schedule, so. I could see both sides of it, but I agree with you. There's no need to get worked up. You want to play in a championship, continue to win games. It's simple as that, and the chips will fall as they may. As far as these refs and the taunting and things like that, I agree. You keep hearing that it's a point of emphasis. So unfortunately, this is not going away. I liked it, Scott, when we went back a couple of years ago when they allowed these celebrations and things, and these are grown-ass men. You want to stop me? You don't want me celebrating? Then stop me. Tackle me. Do whatever you got to do. But, I mean, these are not little kids. If we're talking about peewee football, yeah, I get it. We don't want little kids taunting and doing things. And I know you get the argument. Well, these are role models, and the kids are going to do it as well. There's things that are above and beyond, and then there's things like we've been seeing that are not taunting. It's a guy excited, making a big play. Football, a very emotional game. You hit people. You make plays. That's what happened there. The guy had been let go by that team. Who were they? I don't forget who. Pittsburgh. So he makes a play against a team that let him go. He's excited. He's fired. He didn't flip off the sidelines. He didn't moon anybody. Like let's ease up a little bit on this. So just it's ridiculous. So that was also my KMA, as you can tell. It pisses me off. Have some fun out there. Be competitors. Don't cross the line. And I think we all know where that line can be. And sure, it can be gray, it can be blurry. And yes, these are role models, but stuff like we've been seeing, guy making a first down sign and they're calling him for a taunting play. Like, come on, enough is enough. Have some fun. Your viewers want to see it. Your viewers want it to be fun, more relaxed. Read the room, NFL. Read the room. This is not what anybody wants right now. So, all right, blood pressure's up, Scott. You got me going on this. Talk about tilting. Like that was the one thing. I'm just so sick of these pity calls that are affecting games. I mean, that affected that game. There was a 4th down. Now they get a 1st down on that play. Does it change the outcome? Who knows? But the fact that it's even happening and allowing that 1st down to happen, that's just too much. And yes, the players should know better at this point. If they're going to call it, you got to chill out. But why take that away from them? Let the emotions ride. Football, again, very physical, emotional, stressful type game. Let them have some fun out there. So I don't think it changes this year, unfortunately, but hopefully they look into it after the season. So any other KMAs for you? Anything else got you tilted? I'm gonna sit out here for a minute, get the blood pressure back to normal.
I might have to send to the people in my household who stole my candy bucket, Chris. It's just like disappeared. It's just gone all of a sudden. So, I think that was a hint one day when they found a bunch of wrappers in the garbage over here down here in the man cave when I was watching some games. But, when you're excited, Chris, and you're watching games and you're sweating shit out, man, you're fidgety and you're eating candy. I can't help it, man. They taste so good. I just kept eating them and eating them. Now all of a sudden the bowl of candy is just like gone. Yeah, I can't find it anywhere. That's tilting too there, buddy.
Not acceptable. Or if you have some leftovers, you're always talking lunch money. You go get yourself a nice lunch. You got some leftovers you're excited about. You come back for them. Gone. No sight of them anywhere. Who ate them? No, it wasn't me. I don't know if this is true in your house, but anything that I ask anybody, I don't know. I didn't do it. I didn't see it. Somebody ate the damn leftovers. It wasn't the dog opening up the fridge and chowing down on the lunch. So agreed. Stuff like that. My wife goes nuts. They'll take her brushes and this and that and her shoes, and a constant battle. So it's not just candy, food. It's also the personal items.
We don't stand a chance. Between you and I, man, with as many daughters as we have, we don't stand a chance. We could almost field half a baseball team with as many daughters as we have between the two of us. So, we're the only males in the house. So it's, we stand no chance at all. But, hey, it is what it is. It's all good. The daughters treat me well most occasions, but they got my candy on hostage somewhere. I'm gonna have to find that. I'm gonna have to find that bowl somewhere. They might even start sending ransom notes. You never know.
And maybe they're trying to tell us something. Maybe they're saying, hey, big fella, you don't need any more candy. Like, man, don't F with my candy. You're gonna get me heated again here, Scott. So. Let's get into the NFL slate. So again, we're going to try this and see how it works. We want to give this and get it out to you guys early. And again, it gives you guys time to consume it at your leisure, whenever that may be. And I always like the initial kind of thoughts, Scott. This is kind of a first look at the slate. I've dug in a little bit on it, doing some stuff, but it's always good to just see where your first instinct is before, some of the ownership comes out and before you start listening to, all the different shows that are out there, and some great information out there, a lot of disinformation out there, a lot of bad information out there. So it's knowing which is which. And we hope we are one of your preferred destinations for your fantasy and betting content. That is the goal here with Woodward Bets, is to try to teach you guys kind of our thought process and how we do things. So we're going to try this. Let us know if you guys like it. Hit us up at Woodward Bets. If you don't like the new format, you want it to go back to Sunday, hey, we'll listen to that too. We take all feedback here, good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be. We want this show to be about you guys. So let's get into this main slate here, Scott. We'll skip over the Thursday game. So we'll start with New Orleans and Tennessee. I know yesterday we're kind of divided on this game. I know that you were on the Saints on this one. I kind of like the Titans. So we'll see. Do we still play that out? Looks like Tennessee -3 at most spots. -2.5 at DraftKings right now. So that's the best price you can find there. If you like the Saints, there are some +3s. The total kind of middling here, 44.5. And some injuries here. A little worried about Alvin Kamara here. You're hearing some whispers. They brought in Ernest Johnson. They bring in Mark Ingram. So what's going on with Kamara? Also the quarterback situation. They come out and say Simeon's going to start again. Does he keep that job? Or is it only a matter of time? I was kind of surprised when they didn't go with Taysom Hill. Maybe he's not fully recovered yet. Maybe they want to keep him in this hybrid role. So a lot of questions on the Saints. We're also hearing Odell Beckham may land with New Orleans. So here in New Orleans, Green Bay, Kansas City, all the teams we kind of already talked about. So we'll see how that plays out. But other side's got Titans playing very well. I mean, the convincing win after convincing win. They go out and they dominate the LA Rams. And the pass rush was fierce. They get it done without Derrick Henry. A.J. Brown's starting to play well again. Adrian Peterson saw a ton of work. So this is an interesting game for a middling total here. Are you still on the Saints? And who do you like for DFS season long this weekend?
Yeah, both teams defensively are very good against the run. The Titans have only given up 64 yards at most to any running back. So Kamara is definitely going to have his work cut out for him in this game here. But the Titans are pretty lenient to the wide receivers. So as we know, with Trevor Siemian and Deontay Smith, Traquan Smith, and Stills and Callaway, really not all that strong of a unit here to be going up against the Tennessee. So it kind of looks like New Orleans' strength is going to be matching up against one of Tennessee's strengths. So I think here in this game that both teams are going to kind of have to pass just because of how good both defenses are against the run. But obviously with Henry being out and then we've seen Peterson come in, I think you're going to get a little bit more of a split type backfield there with Henry last week, or with Adrian Peterson. We even saw Deontay Foreman come in a little bit for 5 carries, 29 yards. McNichols ended up with 7 and 24. But I mean, let's think about it. Adrian Peterson did score, but he had 10 rushes for 21 yards. I mean, it's not like he was very successful. So I think they're going to kind of mix in a few guys here to see who they end up leaning on here. I don't think they're set on AP yet either. So A.J. Brown is definitely an interesting play in this game as well. But Chris, New Orleans is sneaky. They're only one game behind the Bucs here in that standing. So I think the Bucs are going to keep rolling here, and they're going to put one on Tennessee here. I like the Bucs in this spot.
I'm on the other side here. You see, you said the Bucs. You're calling them the New Orleans Bucs.
The Saints.
Saints, I know. I'm just making sure you're not thinking Tampa Bay here, and you really don't want to be on the Saints. So I like the other side here. I think there's so many questions with the Saints, and you mentioned the way you beat Tennessee, the way you beat both of those teams is through the air. Do the Saints have the weaponry to do that? And Kamara, yes, he's always in play, especially on DraftKings with that PPR upside. But Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, Adam Troutman, Trevor freaking Siemian. Are you kidding me? So I really think you see this pass rush really fluster Siemian, and I think it's going to be a Taysom Hill show. Now, I think that gives them a better chance. If this is Taysom Hill starting, I feel better about your Saints bet. But the fact that it's Trevor Siemian, who, yeah, he played all right, no doubt. But I don't think this continues. This guy has had very, very few flashes, mostly been bad with Trevor Siemian. And A.J. Brown in a great spot here in this matchup. So not many running backs I'm looking at here, but third most fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position do the New Orleans Saints give up. We're talking about 9 or more targets for them in 4 straight weeks, 22 targets over the last 2 weeks. So I really like the spot for A.J. Brown. I wish there was a Saints receiver I could go to, and maybe it is Callaway, because Tennessee allows the most fantasy points to that position. So a lot of pass catchers in play here, Scott. I'm leaning Tennessee right now. Again, we'll see if this ends up in our best bet segment, which you'll have to come back for on Sunday, where we'll update everything. We don't want to lock in anything. We're going to give you our leans, things we like right now. If you can grab a 2.5 right now in Tennessee, I prefer that over waiting, and it goes to 3. So there is a 2.5 out there. So we'll give you our leans here today, and we'll come back and give you the conviction on Sunday with the plays and the best bets. So make sure you guys are coming back for that. But kind of divided on this game, but overall, I think it should be a fun one. Next one, we got Cleveland and New England. Cleveland obviously dealing with the Nick Chubb situation. Demetric Felton also going to be out with COVID. So Ernest Johnson, Scott, let's just start there. Was very impressive in that Thursday night game, but this is a tall task here. New England generally pretty good against the running back position, generally good about limiting the opponent's best option. You got to think it's Johnson that they're going to try to take out of the game. Maybe it's Jarvis Landry, but a tough spot here. So let's just start with Johnson. Going to be cheap in DFS. Is he a guy you're looking at? Is it a cash game play? Is it a tournament play? Maybe it's a fade this week against New England.
Yeah, I mean, that offensive line for the Browns is, in my opinion, the best offensive line. I mean, they gashed up Denver for 146 yards when Ernest came in week 7. So it's still going to be up in the air. I'm kind of hearing mixed reports about Chubb if he clears in time and plays. Not sure. I've heard it's about a 50-50. So if that's the case, we've already heard that Kareem Hunt is definitely going to be out this week. So it's either going to be Johnson or Chubb. And I will say, I think that either guy here, even though New England's run defense is pretty good, I don't have any problem with firing up either one of these guys here in this spot. It just looks to be that's Cleveland's identity. They're going to run the ball. They're going to spread it out a little bit. And I think that they're going to keep going to that until proven elsewhere. I mean, Baker has not thrown for that many touchdowns. I don't even believe he's had a 300-yard game yet at all. So he may have one, I believe, if off top of my head. But I don't like the passing game here. I think they're going to have to run the ball against New England to stay in this game. And then, on the other side with New England, we've seen some injuries to that running backfield as well. So that's going to be interesting there too. So I think this game is going to be a game that the clock's going to be running. They're going to try to slow it down both sides. I think you're going to see a lot of handoffs on both sides of the ball here.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Johnson, and this is one I want to watch the ownership on as we get closer. If he's going to be overly popular, I'm okay staying away from him. But New England, 12th fewest fantasy points allowed, but that's on the strength of only allowing 2 touchdowns to running backs. They've given up a ton of yards to that position, 9th most rushing yards. Give up a ton of work in the passing game to running backs as well. 4th most receptions, 2nd most receiving yards allowed to running backs. So this is a good matchup for Johnson. We'll see what happens with Chubb. I'm assuming he's going to be out. Obviously, that changes, and we'll update our thoughts on Sunday if that's the case. I don't see them bringing in somebody that's going to suddenly threaten his work. We saw them be very, very comfortable with him carrying the load. Even when Felton was healthy, it was all Ernest Johnson in that Thursday night game. So I like him. Pretty much it for me in this game. I mean, New England, we'll see if we get some clarity on the Harris-Stevenson situation. Sure, maybe one of them's in play, but if it's both of them, you're still mixing in Bolden. The receivers we haven't gotten much out of. So it's pretty much a pass for me for the most part in this game. Hunter Henry is in play touchdown-wise just because the tight end position is so ugly. But Johnson mainly for me. Any leans in the betting market here? Let's get the updated spreads as of now. Looks like mostly New England minus 2.5. Actually 1.5 it seems to be the number at a lot of spots right now. And the total sitting right around 45.5 at most places.
I think the Browns are going to win this game, Chris. I think it's going to be a close game, maybe a field goal or so. I'm going to guess it's going to go a little bit under the total, but I'm going to guess maybe Browns 23-21.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a lean to the under. No strong lean on this. We'll see what the injury situations are to make a spread pick. If I had to pick right now, probably with you on Cleveland, but we'll wait and see on that one. I do like the under in this matchup. 2 teams that love to run the ball that can play well defensively. So again, we'll update our thoughts as we move closer to Sunday. Next one we got your Lions, Scott, traveling to Pittsburgh. Our next game here, obviously. A very big spread in this game. Pittsburgh, big home favorites here. Trying to find the updated lines here. It looks like we got 8.5, 8s, 9s. We're kind of all over the board on this game. Total sitting right around 42.5 at most books as of right now. So we talked about it the other day, Scott. We saw the Bears come back on this Pittsburgh team. We know the Pittsburgh defense is elite. We know Najee Harris going to be a popular play this week against this Lions run D. We'll see if Chase Claypool's able to play in this game, but Freiermuth has been a solid play at the tight end position. So a lot of ways you can go here with Pittsburgh. what can we do with Detroit? Swift against this running D, kind of tough. Is it a Hawkinson play? Is it a leave Detroit alone? Really like Najee Harris here, though, against this Lions run D.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with any Lions at this point. I mean, the backfield hasn't produced more than a 60-yard rusher any game, even though Swift scored 5 times. So they're not getting any kind of yardage. The Lions receivers haven't even scored since week 4, and it's just terrible. I mean, if we're looking for upside, this is definitely not the spot we want to look here with the Lions. I can't even go with Hawkinson. I mean, he's got 70 yards in his last couple home games, but Chris on the road, he's struggling. He hasn't even got 50 yards once. So I think that that's going to be a tough go for him as well. Najee Harris, as much as they use him, for me, I mean, that's just the guy. If you're playing cash games in DFS, I mean, that's just a stone cold lock. You just got to play him. And I haven't decided yet, being Wednesday, trying to see what kind of ownership is going to be predicted for him. But, I mean, he's definitely a guy that stands out on the top of the running backs. I mean, there's just no way, any way other about it, especially the way the Lions struggle. The game script is going to be there just because they should be in the lead most of the game. So definitely like me some Najee Harris. The only thing I would fear is if we see another debacle like we've seen against the Eagles where it's 44-6 and they just jumped out and got smashed. How much Najee Harris do we really see? Are the Lions even going to be able to keep it close enough to where you may get burned by a really chalky Najee Harris that may not get you the output you would need, and then all of a sudden he's sitting on the sideline with halfway through the third quarter. So that would be my fear, the blowout. But yeah, definitely Najee Harris is a top play in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but if it's 44-6, he's probably a big reason why it's 44-6. I mean, that's what we saw destroy the Lions against Philadelphia is the running backs, and I say running backs with Philadelphia using multiple backs. Pittsburgh's not going to do that. This guy's going to get all of the work against the Lions defense. Again, that's been terrible against running backs. Second most fantasy points allowed. They're only behind the Jets, and the Jets, the reason they're so high, they keep giving up touchdowns to running backs, 14 touchdowns allowed to that position. So we'll talk some Jets here momentarily, but the Lions not great in that department either. 10 rushing touchdowns allowed. So as far as a bet, feels like Najee Harris, not only, the touchdown bet is easy, but the multiple touchdowns is probably the way to go, like we saw with Jonathan Taylor against that Jets team the other night. So a way to get a little bit better odds on something with Najee Harris. So that's something I'll certainly be looking at here. As far as this game, love Harris, love pairing him with the Pittsburgh defense here. I don't see anything worthwhile on this Detroit offense, as even a run it back option, which we've talked about. You play pieces of a game. You generally want a piece on the other side, a run it back, you'll hear it called, a correlation. But Pittsburgh's so damn good against tight ends, Scott. They're one of the better teams in the league against that position. So even trusting a Hawkinson is really tough here. So as far as a bet, as of now, I like Pittsburgh. There is a -8 available at DraftKings. This number is as high as 9.5 at some places. So if you can get in early on this, and I know there's some news about Ben Roethlisberger dealing with a shoulder injury, the questions about Chase Claypool. Obviously, Ben's out. That affects that a little bit. I still think Pittsburgh would roll, and that would be even more Najee Harris here. So love Najee here in the spot again. Getting expensive. I agree. Cash games, we'll see, even tournaments. So I don't think the ownership will be high enough where I want to stay away from this one. So any bets here? Can the Lions cover this 8.5, we'll call it, Scott?
No, I'm not going to put my money on the Lions. I mean, that's just, to me, it's just not fun as a Lions fan. I mean, you'd really be questioning your common sense there if that was something you did. But I will say, Chris, if you can find it at like 8.5 and you can get that 2-team tease and you can get that spread Pittsburgh under 3 at home, I think that's a pretty decent start to a 2-team tease, especially if you can get Pittsburgh like -2.5. I really like that at that point. But I think in this game, Chris, the defense, too, for the Steelers and DFS is interesting, like you mentioned, to pair up with Najee Harris. So it's going to be probably going to be, at this point, if I was building a team and I was Najee Harris, and I usually do like to pair my defense with a running back, I think the Pittsburgh defense here is in a fabulous spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're expensive, no doubt. Buffalo, a little bit more expensive on FanDuel this week, but Pittsburgh, second highest price defense. So it's not cheap, but we'll find you some value for sure if that's a stack that you want to build. And again, there are some 8s, 8.5s out there. So there's an 8 at DraftKings as we speak right now, 8.5 at BetMGM, 8.5 at BetRivers. So to get that teaser down there, you're probably going to want to hop on these. Now, again, if Ben ends up not playing, maybe this number comes down a little bit. You get a better number. But I could also see this heading the other way and heading towards 10. So it just depends on which side you're kind of looking on that Ben Roethlisberger situation. So next game, we got Jacksonville and Indianapolis. Jacksonville coming off that stunner, Scott, beating the Buffalo Bills at home. Probably ruined a lot of survivor pools. I mean, that felt about the surest thing that you could design is a Buffalo win against Jacksonville. So a lot of people, that and that Dallas Cowboys lost to Denver, probably eliminated most survivor pools. So hopefully you guys avoided those landmines here. But Indianapolis looked great the other night, led by Jonathan Taylor. A massive game in that one. Carson Wentz continues to play well. So this one we got Indy, mostly 10.5. There are some 10s out there. So obviously a big favorite here. Total 47.5 is the majority of what I'm seeing out there. So, Scott, can Jacksonville do it again? Are they riding high? I mean, it was an ugly game. It's not like they came in and whooped up on Buffalo, but this is a tough task on the road in a division, a team playing at a very high level. Feels like another spot. We should probably go back to Jonathan Taylor in this one.
Yeah, some suicide pools. I had a buddy actually pouting about that one with his with the loss there. I know it bounced him out of his suicide pool. He was pretty upset about that. But Chris, I mean, on the road, Jacksonville is just terrible. So I do not have any interest in Jacksonville at all here. Matter of fact, I think Indianapolis is just going to wipe up on them. James Robinson is supposed to be back in, from what I understand. But man, Jonathan Taylor to me is a standout play here. I really like Jonathan Taylor. The guy is emerging as one of the best running backs in football. He scored his last 6 games, and half of them he's had 2 touchdowns. So he's had 100 yards every week since week 3. So I really like Jonathan Taylor here in this spot. I mean, these 2 running backs we opened up here with Harris and Taylor, I think these 2 might be in the best spots here for the week. But Jonathan Taylor for me is another guy that I could look at. And then also the same similar spot here with the Lions. I think you could also look at this Colts defense at home against the Jacksonville and against Trevor Lawrence, who they have just struggled mightily offensively.
Yep, Taylor in a great spot. That Indy defense right there with Pittsburgh. They're the 3rd most expensive defense on the slate, but I love both of those pairings. A lot of people like to pay down at defense, which makes a lot of sense. So sometimes paying up to what people don't want to do can make it contrarian as well. So that's always something I'm trying to think about as well. Are people not wanting to pay up at defense? Then maybe that's the route you go. But yeah, Taylor in a good spot. Jacksonville's allowed 8 rushing touchdowns. As far as the other side, Indy's been very good against running backs this season. 3rd fewest fantasy points allowed to that position. So makes a returning James Robinson very tough to trust. Maybe a Dan Arnold play. The Colts have struggled a little bit with tight end. 6 touchdowns allowed this season. So he continues to be a source of value, but it just feels like Indy is going to roll here behind Taylor. So I love Taylor. Pittman, I think, is still in play, a guy that's going to get a ton of targets. T.Y. Hilton, we'll see if he's able to return to the lineup this week. If he's out, I like Pittman that much more, especially if Taylor's going to be super popular. I have no problems getting some leverage there with Michael Pittman. But Indy for me here, I think laying the 10 is probably where I want to go here as well, Scott. I think they win easily here.
Yeah, I'm laying the 10. I think they win easily as well. And I like what you said there about the leverage. If people are kind of wondering what that means, so that means 60, 70% of the pool are going to be on Jonathan Taylor and the run side of that offense. So what Chris is saying, if he fades Jonathan Taylor and plays Pittman, and most of the offense comes from Pittman, and they still blow him out, well, Chris is going to be way ahead of all those teams with Jonathan Taylor just with his Pittman play. So he's just talking about up and down kind of leverage type situation, which is something that you got to look at when you're building up your DFS teams, especially in tournaments. That's something I do think about a lot, Chris. This running back's going to be pretty popular. Maybe I like a receiver to sneak in there. All of a sudden, the receiver sneaks in there and gets a long couple, a couple of nice plays can definitely get you ahead. But yeah, Jacksonville's just tough to bet on. I think Indy at home, they do seem to just whoop up on the crappy team. So after that victory that they had last week against Buffalo. I think Indy's going to be a bit too much for them.
All right, next game we have Atlanta and Dallas. Dallas we just talked about a strange loss at home to Denver, and not just a loss. I mean, they got dominated start to finish in that game, put a couple touchdowns on the board late in that game, but that was a 30-0 game at one point. So the score at the end was not even indicative of what that game looked like. So we'll see if they're able to bounce back here, and you get a great matchup if that's the case. And Scott, this feels like one of those games I want to go back to Dallas. I think people are going to hesitate. The problem is, do we trust Dak? I mean, they're not throwing the ball at an exorbitant rate. I mean, they still want to run the ball. When you go to the running game, you still have somewhat of a split between Zeke and Pollard. So can we trust either of those guys? You start to look at Dak and, 25, 30 attempts a week, splitting that between, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup supposed to return this week, Dalton Schultz, the running backs get targets. So I want to go to Dallas. I want to buy into the bounce back here, Scott, but what is the way to do it? Is it with Zeke? Is it with the passing game? It's just tough figuring out which way we want to go here with this Cowboys team. Maybe it's leave them alone again and don't play anybody here.
Yeah, I think this game here, I mean, Dak is a guy that, I mean, he did struggle mightily against the Broncos, but I mean, his upside is so high. I mean, he was on a 4-game streak earlier in the season before he got injured, where he had 3 touchdown games where he got 3 touchdowns or more in a game. So, Dak, I think just that game script, it just took him out of that game. I think they just kind of dumbed it down. They realized that they were losing. They didn't want to get him hurt and have him running around. And to me, I just kind of looked at that game when I was watching. I thought, man, it just seems like the Cowboys gave up. So, kind of concerned about that. But I think they bounced back this week. The NFL, that's what the NFL is. It's just bad teams. And when they play good the week before, usually struggle the next week. And usually when good teams have an off week, they usually seem to bounce it back. I do think Dallas is a playoff type team, so I think they do bounce it back. I'm a little concerned about Elliott, if he's healthy or not, but if he is healthy, I think that Elliott should get the ball quite a bit. Atlanta is decent against running backs. They haven't allowed more than 82 yards to a running back, but I think this Dallas offensive line is really good, and then you can run a little bit of play action and maybe get the ball to Cooper and Lamb, but I think this game here is a game, there's some other games that are definitely more fruitful, but I think the Cowboys are a really good offense, and I think Atlanta's kind of in for a little bit more than what they expect.
Yeah, I do like Dak. Third most fantasy points allowed, third most by the quarterbacks is the Falcons. Kind of tripping over my words here, thinking about which way to go here with Dallas, but we know that Atlanta defense is not good. They did allow Trevor Siemian to put some numbers on the board. So I think it is a great bounce back spot. It's a question of, do you double stack him, who to pair him with? And we'll get more clarity on that as we get closer to Sunday. But no, I will be in on this Dallas offense for sure. As far as any bets, Scott, we see Dallas big time favorites, anywhere from, I'm seeing as low as 8s. There's an 8 available on DraftKings all the way as high as 10. On PointsBet. So kind of a wide spread of spreads here for Dallas. A big total, though, mostly 54.5, 55s out there. Any leans on either of these numbers?
No, this one here is tough. I wasn't sure when I was trying to break this game down which way I even really wanted to go at this point, but I mean, a lot of the money is coming in on the Falcons, almost 67%, getting all those points. I think at this point, I think that's just too many points, and I just can't bet on Atlanta, even though Matt Ryan has been throwing the ball pretty well, but I just can't do it. So I'm just going to probably stay away from this one.
I'm going Dallas here. I think you get a double recency bias here. You get the people that look at what Atlanta did last week in New Orleans, and you're feeling good about Atlanta. You probably get the same people or more worried about Dallas. Oh, my God, they lost at home to Denver. What's happening with this team? So I think you're going to see a lot of support come in on that Atlanta side, and I don't like to go with the recency bias here. I look at these two teams. Dallas is the better team. I think they bounce back. Yes, it's a big number. I wish it was a little lower. If I can get it at 8, obviously prefer that over some of the 9s and 10s that are out there. But I think this is a spot Dallas gets healthy and really rolls this team up. So Atlanta's been improved. I don't know if they're improved enough to stay competitive with this Dallas team. So I'm going to go with Dallas here minus the 8. Next game, another team. We talked about the two teams that took a dump on everybody's survivor pool. We got Buffalo and the Jets here. This opened up Buffalo minus 13.5. We're still sitting in that same range. A lot of 13s out in the market. DraftKings, there's an 11.5 though. So again, DraftKings it seems to be the spot that the lines are a little bit different than the majority of things out there. So if you like Buffalo, maybe you jump on that early. The Jets, got to give them credit. They got rolled by Jonathan Taylor, but they fought back. Sounds like they're going to go back to Mike White here at the quarterback position, give Zach Wilson another week. Johnson was impressive, but obviously not impressive enough to supplant White, who we saw get injured in that Colts game. But it's got the Buffalo side. I mean, how concerned are we with this offense when you can't even put points on the board against the Jacksonville Jaguars? So Josh Allen struggled, was dominated by the other Josh Allen on the defensive side. Stephon Diggs has been a disappointment. Emmanuel Sanders, you never know what you're going to get. Beasley's been a decent source of value here. And then we have the Zach Moss concussion thing. Did not practice as of this recording on Wednesday. So maybe Devin Singletary season. I mean, if Moss is out, I love Singletary. We talked about the Jets and their 14 touchdowns allowed, highest in the league. Singletary's always played well without Moss. So he's one of the better value plays, in my opinion, if we don't have Zach Moss here. And I do think Buffalo bounces back here in this divisional game against the Jets.
Yeah, Buffalo, man, they were looking like the team to beat in the AFC a few weeks back. They've lost 2 out of their last 3 games, and I believe they're only a half game now ahead of the Patriots. So definitely a little bit of urgency should be coming through that Buffalo locker room, especially after looking like shit against Jacksonville like they did. So I really do like Buffalo to bounce it back here. Like you mentioned, division game. They won 18-10 last year in New York, and then they won 27-17 in Buffalo. So I do expect this one here to be a slower type game, actually, as you mentioned. I think that they are going to run Singletary quite a bit. The Jets are just they're worse than the Lions. I mean, that's hard to say. There's nothing else we can say. Anybody else anything worse than the Lions? So the Jets, yes, are worse than the Lions against the run. So definitely like some Singletary. But Chris, I keep saying it. How many times we said it so far on the show? I'm waiting for the week that Allen makes it right with Diggs, where Diggs has that big game. It just hasn't happened yet. The Jets' pass defense has been weak. Their last 4 weeks, they've given up multiple touchdowns the last 4 weeks. So I think the Bills may try to get the ball here a little bit to Diggs at the start, and then they're going to bring it home with Singletary. So I think you can probably pencil in Singletary for maybe 15 to 20 touches. So with him being that cheap, yeah, I got to agree with you. Singletary is definitely one of the top value plays in DFS.
All right, any bets you like here? Big spread, big total. I kind of like the over here. I think Buffalo's going to bounce back, score points. I think this Jets offense will be pesky enough, even against a tough defense, to score some points in this one. So big number here, but I like the over 48 and a half. You got anything on this one?
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I do like the over in that game as well. I think the Jets with Salah, I mean, they've been playing decent. I mean, they got Michael Carter, and I believe they're supposed to get back Corey Davis too. So we'll see. I think that this game, if Buffalo gets out, I think it's going to put the Jets in a spot where they're going to have to throw the ball around. But yeah, 47 I don't think is too high for these two teams to get over. So give me the over. I think Buffalo actually scores in the 30s themselves.
All right, we got Tampa Bay and Washington up next. Tampa Bay, big favorites here in this one. Looking, again, a spread of numbers here, but mostly 9.5. DraftKings, once again, -9 here for Tampa Bay. Total in this one, mostly 51.5, a couple 51s out there in the market. So both teams coming off a bye here, Scott. Obviously good news for Tampa Bay, an older team. We'll see with the wide receivers, though. We saw Antonio Brown shed the walking boot. We've been talking about his injury, but did not practice today. Now we have this strange Chris Godwin injury, and they're not committing to if he's going to be able to play or not this week. So it could be a little wide receiver shuffle there, a little musical chairs. But this feels like if one of those guys is out, the Tom Brady double stack here against Washington, who's been horrific against quarterbacks and against opposing passing games, feels like a stone cold lock this week. I hate to use that word, but Brady's been fantastic here. And when you eliminate one of those three, it makes it very clear where the ball is going to go. They're not going to throw the ball much to some of the other guys there. So I love that. I like the spot for Leonard Fournette. Other side, I think Terry McLaurin is a fantastic play. You can't run against Tampa Bay. So even Antonio Gibson in season long, I'm debating putting him on the bench if you have some similar options in that range. So a tough matchup here, him dealing with the injury. I know he's had a week to try to get healthy here, but a tough matchup here. Logan Thomas apparently headed towards a comeback, but last I saw is he's still pretty sore. So they may sit him out another week, which means we get another week of Ricky Seals-Jones. So, Scott, this one very interesting, but love this Tampa Bay passing game this week, especially if one of those guys is out. That double stack would be awesome in DFS here this week.
Yeah, I was reading when I was looking at this game, old Scotty Miller might be available to come off the injured reserve. So if Brown's out and Godwin is not able to go, you may see old Scotty Miller come back. But yeah, this will be the worst defense the Bucs play. I was looking at their schedule because I was kind of looking at some of these guys here, looking at some trades, maybe some people were wanting me to trade, and they got a pretty easy schedule coming up here. I think they don't even play a winning team with a winning record to like week 14 or something like that. So I think they're going to try to get this offense healthy. I think Leonard Fournette is a pretty decent play here in this game actually as well. But I think Tampa Bay, if they give it the whole 60 minutes and they throw it around the yard, I don't see any reason why Tom Brady isn't going to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I just can't see it not happening. And I do like the double stack, Chris, as we mentioned yesterday when we were talking. Chris Godwin and Evans have been on the teams. If you look at some of the top of the tournaments, they've already been on. They've already had a couple weeks where the Tom Brady stack with the two of them got you there. And then one of the weeks it was actually Evans and Brown. So definitely the opportunities are there. The upside is there. So I do like that. And yes, on the Washington side, they are going to have to throw. So, maybe you could look at, some guys like McLaurin who would be interesting. If Logan Thomas does give it a go, I'd be interested in him as well. But I'm not sure if Washington's going to be able to keep up with the Bucs here, but I do think the Bucs are going to put up 30-some points.
And one other note is that we'll see if Ryan Fitzpatrick returns to that Washington lineup, if he's even the quarterback. They could stick with Heineke here. So this spot for Tom Brady is too good. You couldn't really draw up a much better spot unless he was at home. Washington, most fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. It's not even close. They are lapping the field. 20 touchdown passes already allowed, second highest in the league, only behind the Colts, surprisingly. So this is a great spot for Tampa. I think Tampa rolls here, Scott. I just don't know that Washington has the offense to keep up. So hate laying this big of a number on the road, but I'm leaning Tampa right now on this one. You got any leans on this spread or this total here?
Yeah, I like Tampa too. Let's think about it. We know Tom Brady and his obsessive ways of wanting to be perfect and him being a perfectionist. He just had a pretty shitty game that he had to sit on for a bye week. So I don't think Tom took that lightly. They had 3 turnovers. They didn't run the ball well. So I can almost virtually guarantee you Tom's going to want to clean that up, Chris. And I think they have a big week this week.
All right, Carolina, Arizona is our next matchup here. Arizona, impressive win going to San Francisco. I didn't give much of a chance there, and they get it done. So coming home here to face Carolina. A lot of questions here with Carolina, Scott. Sounds like Sam Darnold's going to miss a few weeks. So P.J. Walker time here in Carolina. Now, we've seen a little bit of him here in the NFL. We know was great in the XFL when it was around for a couple weeks, seemingly. But the NFL, it's just not translated yet. You're starting to see that reflect in the spread here. Mostly 10.5s out in the market now, 110 available at BetMGM. Total sitting right around 44.5. Cardinals side, we'll see if we get Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins back. Chase Edmonds sounds like he's going to be missing some time. And James Conner was the big winner here. Huge number in DFS and in your season-long league. So hopefully you guys capitalized on that. Benjamin, a guy that's going to get some more work there. These receivers, though, always a question with Arizona. There's so many guys if Hopkins is back, you got Kirk, you got Moore, you got Ertz there still. So I think this is a good spot for Arizona. We'll see how popular James Conner is going to be in DFS here this week. Generally, I like my running backs at home as big favorites. His price still kind of fair. He's only $7,000 on FanDuel this week. So it feels like a James Conner week, especially if Kyler Murray's back. I think that helps him. Some people would take the opposite approach, and Murray's going to steal away opportunities. Murray makes this offense better. That puts the focus on a lot of other things. If it's not Murray, now we can just focus on stopping James Conner. The rest falls into place if you're the Carolina defense here. So mostly Arizona for me here, Scott. I just don't trust P.J. Walker enough. Christian McCaffrey is probably playing at 70%. Maybe he's the play here, but mostly Conner for me here unless Kyler's back.
Yeah, I got to agree. Kyler's going to be really the whole deciding factor on which way. If Kyler plays, I think you can use guys like Zach Ertz and maybe even Christian Kirk. But yeah, if Colt McCoy goes, I think Conner is even more of a must start. And then even that Arizona defense too, I like against Carolina. Carolina's just been struggling. Now we get P.J. Walker. And then too, Chris, the Panthers actually recently placed their center and their left tackle on injured reserve. So just more bad news for that offense over there in Carolina. But I'm telling you, if I had CMC on my fantasy team, I think I would be trying to drum up some sort of trades for him at this point, especially with as beat up as this offense is. I don't think Christian McCaffrey's good enough just to come in and change all that. Last week he had 14 runs, 52 yards, 4 catches for 54 yards. But really concerned about this Carolina offense. I do think the Cardinals are a top defense in the NFL. So I think the Cardinals are going to get to them. So I definitely like Conner. And another situation here too, Chris, where I do like the defense. So three games here where I like the running back in defense so far.
Yeah, Arizona been pretty stout against running backs. Fourth fewest fantasy points allowed. They have a lot of receptions though. So if you are thinking about McCaffrey, that has been a weakness of this defense. 7th most receptions allowed to running backs here. But another big spread, Scott. I hate taking all of these big spreads, but I think Arizona rolls here. Now, this is not what I want to get in early on, because if it's not Kyler Murray, then I don't really like it as much, even though I still think they could win pretty handily here. I just don't see P.J. Walker being the guy. As good of a story as that would be, as good as he was in the XFL, this is the big boy league here. So I like Arizona here, but I'm certainly going to wait on this one rather than trying to take advantage. And maybe you do jump in, and Kyler plays and this thing goes up to 12.5. So that's certainly a way you could look at it. But Arizona for me at this point, but not something I'm going to jump in early here. You got anything in this one you like?
Yeah, I would roll with Arizona as well. I just think that defense is they're just too good, and they press and press. And I think they're going to be a little bit too much for P.J. Walker and this beat-up offensive line for Carolina.
All right, next game we got Minnesota and the Chargers. The Chargers looks like -3 at most shops. Points bet, there is a -2.5, but very heavily juiced as of right now at -135. So this thing will settle in at -3 in most places. Total, mostly 53s out there, a couple 52.5s, depending on what side you're on here. So Chargers, very impressive win, traveling west to east. We always hear about that. Going into Philadelphia, getting a win there. Justin Herbert was impressive in that game. I know there was some current concerns about him and the injury. I think he put that to bed. Still some concerns with Mike Williams, Scott. Just something doesn't look right here. But that has helped. A guy like Keenan Allen get involved. Donald Parham at the tight end position. So the Chargers always an interesting team as far as pairing partners with Herbert. You could even use Austin Eckler there. Minnesota, feels like they let one slip away. They were dominating that game, kind of gave it away. We have this whole Dalvin Cook saga going on, and who's at fault? Some of these pictures that come out, did he do this? Did he not? He's claiming he's the victim. So we'll keep an eye on that. I don't know that it affects his availability this week. If it does, obviously we know Alexander Mattison becomes a fantastic value play. The Chargers have really struggled allowing running back production here. Minnesota, same cast of characters. Justin Jefferson to me is always in play. Thielen has become a little bit more boom bust here, but this one certainly has shootout potential, Scott. I like the over in this one. Big number here, but two offenses I think are going to find a lot of success in this game.
Yeah, actually, just from at this point in the week, this is actually my favorite game for fantasy goodness. I think there's all kinds of plays we could look here. Eckler is in a great spot against the Vikings. The Vikings have given up 8 scores and pretty much 80 yards or more every week to the primary back. So definitely like Eckler in this spot. I think you can even use a guy like Parnham as a low price tight end, as we saw. He had 3 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown last week. So Herbert does look to those guys, which I like. But I think this game is going to go back and forth. We got definitely two good offenses. I think Dalvin Cook is in a great spot here. The Chargers have given up 11 rushing touchdowns so far this year, so they've been pretty weak against running backs. So definitely think that the Vikings are going to be able to run the ball. And then I always like Adam Thielen. He's just such a red zone target for Kirk Cousins that I think this game does go over the 53 points. Conklin's another guy too that you could use at tight end on the other side for the Vikings. So I mean, as I just go up and down here, there's just guys all over the place in this game, and I think this game could end up both teams score in the 30s. So we'll see, but I think this one here has definitely got the potential to be the most exciting game of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a fun one. Another one should be a lot of fun. Seattle and Green Bay. Now it sounds like Russell Wilson is going to be back for this game. Looks like he's cleared. We got Green Bay mostly -3.5, one -3 out there. That one is at Caesars right now, but I think this one settles in at 3.5. Again, you got questions. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be cleared or not? The earliest he can come back is that Saturday. So all signs pointing to that, but we don't know that for sure. So a little tough to break this game down. You know, if it's Aaron Rodgers, Adams, Rodgers in play. Jones, I worry about a little bit with A.J. Dillon working in so much here. I do like the Seattle side, though. If Russell Wilson's here and playing, I think a lot of people are going to hesitate here. Let's see how it looks. It's been up and down. I know Lockett had a big game before the bye, but he's been mostly bad. Metcalf has not been great, but against the secondary, no Jair Alexander, I like the Seattle passing game. I think you see Russell Wilson and company have some success here. Chris Carson, another guy that we're supposed to see back at practice this week, so we'll keep an eye on that. So if it's him or Alex Collins, but I really like the Seattle passing attack here in this game, Scott. I think I never like the double stack here because for whatever reason, it's you either get Metcalf or Lockett. You never get both. It's very strange. Tampa Bay, a bunch of guys can go off, but Seattle, it's generally one or the other. So do you have a preferred partner pairing there? If it is Russell Wilson behind center, and we'll see if we get Aaron Rodgers back here. So some questions still to be answered in this game. I'll be able to dive a little bit deeper on Sunday, but first thought is Seattle passing game for me.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson is obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and like you mentioned, without Jair Alexander, I think DK Metcalf is just going to be a nightmare for Green Bay. So I do like some points to be scored in this game as well. But you know what always happens, Chris? Whenever I think DK Metcalf is supposed to do well, that's when I always watch Tyler Lockett run into the end zone, which for these two receivers, I think I've gone back and forth more than any other two over the past few years. But definitely will be a bonus if Chris Carson comes back for that Seattle offense. I mean, to get Chris Carson and then Russell Wilson back, that will be a huge jolt to that offense. But Chris, I don't think that they're going to be good enough here to beat Green Bay. I mean, to me, I don't think there's any doubt that Aaron Rodgers will be cleared to play on Saturday. I just think it'll cause too much controversy. I think we saw the Packers struggle last week with Jordan Love, obviously. I just think the Packers are a way better team at this point. And I don't think that they can roll into Lambeau and beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So I think Cobb is in not Cobb. Aaron Jones is in a really good spot here. I do like Aaron Jones against the 27th ranked defense. So we'll see. I think the Packers are going to get him here, though, buddy. I think you're underestimating how good your team is, and especially with Aaron Rodgers coming back, I think that this Seahawk team don't stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking fantasy. I like the passing game, but I do think Green Bay wins this game. If Rodgers is in there, maybe you take a shot now. If he's in there, you got to think this line probably goes to 5.5. So Maybe you dive in at 3.5. It's Jordan Love, and then you're kind of stuck with that 3.5, and maybe they pound the ball. You mentioned Seattle, not very good against the run. So there are some outs there, but I like Green Bay here as well. All right, we'll finish up with Philadelphia, Denver. We got Sunday night, Monday night. We'll cover those more in depth as we get closer to those. Sunday, we'll cover that Sunday night game. And then on Monday's show, we'll dig in deep on the Monday night football game. Don't want to go too long here with the show today. So we'll wrap it up. Philadelphia and Denver. Again, Philadelphia, tough loss at home to the Chargers last week. Denver, a very impressive win going into Dallas and getting the W. So looking at the lines, about split. Some 2.5s out there with a lot of juice on them. Some -3s with some -105. So you're getting a little good number there if you take the -3. As far as the total goes, mostly 44.5s, 45s here. So, Scott, this one interesting. Philadelphia has turned to a team that wants to run the ball, establish the run, as they say. Denver, they lose Von Miller, but the defense still looked pretty legit in that game against Dallas. I know there's some injuries they're dealing with, and maybe they're more vulnerable than people realize. But I like Denver a lot in the spot. I think defensively they can shut this team down a little bit. That running game with Gordon and Javonte Williams has been solid. The return of Jerry Jeudy and Teddy Bridgewater, a guy that's not going to go out there and put massive numbers on the board, but a guy that's going to manage the game, and there's enough weapons there for them to put points on the board. So as of now, I really like the spot for Denver. Always a tough place to come in and get a W.
Yeah, I like Denver here too. I don't think that the Eagles are that good. I mean, yeah, they mollywopped the Lions, but I actually thought the Lions had a chance against them. So before even going into that week, I didn't have much respect for the Eagles. And then to hear Darius Slay is hurt. But the Eagles are 29th against running backs. They give up 9 scores in their last 7 games to them. So, Chris, I think Javonte Williams could be a sneaky guy that might get some run this week. And Melvin Gordon, of course, we kind of hate the splits back and forth, but I could see a touchdown going Melvin Gordon's way. And then, the Eagles are dead last against tight ends. So I could see Noah Fant having a pretty decent day here, but definitely am not interested really in anything on the Eagles. It's just so hard to roster any of these guys. I mean, Goddard isn't that bad, but as far as any of the receivers, Devontae Smith, yeah, he finally scored a touchdown last week, but just hasn't been putting up on them numbers. And then with this backfield we got with Howard and Scott, it's just hard it doesn't seem like there's any upside there. So going to stay away from all these Eagle players, but I do have a little bit of interest in maybe some of these running backs here for Denver.
Yeah, it's just with that split, it's tough to trust those guys. If it was one or the other, I'd be all over it. I just don't know where the upside is unless one of them gets 2 touchdowns somehow on their series. They capture that, but not a ton of fantasy plays I like in this game, but I do like Denver with that small spread, especially you can nab a 2.5, not have to pay overly excessive juice. Even if you can grab a 3 at -105, feels like a good number there. I think Denver wins this game at home. So that will wrap up our first look, our initial thoughts on the NFL main slate. So again, hopefully you guys enjoy this coming out early. Don't worry, we're going to continue to update things each and every day on the show. Any injuries, any major spread changes, things like that. If our thoughts change, I know, Scott, you're probably a similar vein. Like I may like something today, and my mind may change throughout the week. That's the beauty of being a human being, is I don't have to lock in. I'm taking this. I don't have to make those decisions until Sunday. So we want to be very transparent with you guys all throughout the process of what we're thinking, what we're looking at. That's kind of the thought process here at Woodward Bets. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Woodward Bets as we continue to put more content up on the Twitter sphere. But Scott, NBA, we promised the people some best bets. As far as digging into the slate DFS-wise, there's 13 games on the docket. So I'll just highlight some of the big injuries here tonight. No Nikola Jokic, we saw, is going to be suspended here. So, guys like Jeff Green, Aaron Gordon, JaMychal Green, obviously going to come into play. Another big man out once again, DeAndre Ayton. So more JaVale McGee, more Frank Kaminsky. We got no LeBron James once again tonight. So Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook get to play. No Jaylen Brown for Boston. So this one intriguing. Tatum clearly will be a guy you can go to a little bit more here. Dennis Schroeder, a guy that's playing a lot off the bench. Milwaukee continues to be thin. No Brook Lopez, no Chris Middleton. Denver also going to be without Michael Porter Jr. So really lacking offense there for the Denver Nuggets. No Colin Sexton. We saw him dealing with that knee injury. He's going to be out a while. So those are the major injuries. They'll still continue to roll in as we get closer to lock. So make sure you guys are paying attention to the injuries. So Scott, if you want, give some thoughts on some DFS plays, but with so many games, I'd rather just get to best bets. So if you want to give DFS, go ahead. If not, let's just open up the best bets part of the show. See if we can stay hot. Again, 9 in a row here in the NBA or in the best bet segment. Mostly NBA plays. There is some college football tonight, Scott, college basketball. So the floor is yours. Anything standing out here? Something you want to lock in as a best bet here tonight?
Well, I will say with the NBA, Chris, 13 games is so important that everybody pay attention, especially right before lock. There's going to be a ton of injury news. And Chris, our sponsor, Underdog NBA, for me, is one of the best Twitters to follow to get that latest up-to-date injury information. I had a couple people actually ask me that. And shout out to the sponsor, the Underdog NBA Twitter. They're up on top of it, so definitely good to follow there. But Chris, as far as bets go tonight, just kind of looking around a little bit. First thing I do like is the Golden State over 222 with Minnesota. I think that game is going to be a quick pace game. So I definitely like the over and Steph Curry in that matchup there. And then one other one that I'm looking at, I also like San Antonio, Chris, at home -1 against Sacramento. I think San Antonio is going to get the job done. So my two best bets are the Golden State Warriors over the 222 and San Antonio -1 at home.
All right, I'm going to give you 3 spread plays today. So no totals I really like tonight as much as some of these spreads. So I'm going to start with Cleveland at home against Washington. Both teams that have played well. I mean, we're talking about a 7-4 Cavs team, a 7-3 Washington team. I really like the Cavs in the spot, catching points at home, mostly +3s. There is a 3.5 available at FanDuel, but I'm fine locking in the +3 with Cleveland. So I will start with that one. Second one I really like. We gave you Milwaukee last night. I'm going the other side here, Scott. I'm going with the Knicks here tonight at home -4. And Milwaukee been on a lengthy road trip, a back-to-back here. We just talked about them being thin, as good as Bobby Portis and company were. That was a skeleton 76ers crew they played last night. And yeah, we got the win at the end and happy to put it on the board, but they struggled a little bit in that matchup. So you got to think fatigue here. The Knicks at home -4. I want to go that route. On the last one, I'm going to give you another team at home I really like tonight. I know it's been a struggle for New Orleans here, just one win on the season. But I love them in the spot tonight against OKC. I think this is one they can get it going here, even without Zion, some of the big names in that lineup here. I like laying the 4.5 here with New Orleans. One of those, why is the number higher? It seems higher than it should be. We've talked about this before. It just feels like this is a spot New Orleans gets healthy. So New Orleans -4.5, the Knicks -4, and the Cleveland Cavaliers +3. My 3 best bets here in the NBA. So, Scott, hopefully back tomorrow. We got 14-0 on the board. But good luck to everybody with your bets out there. We thank you for watching. Again, if you have any feedback on the show in general, on the new format, looking at NFL on Wednesdays, please reach out and follow us on Twitter at Woodward Bets. So, Scott, final thoughts for the people here. What do we got?
Hopefully we get some more lunch money. 14-0 is a hell of a number. If we can get to that, that would be absolutely fabulous. But I like our chances there, Chris. We've been on quite the string, so I'm sure the people will be following along tonight. And like I said, if you're winning off our picks, we like to see it. We like to hear about it. Send it over to us. Send us a little screenshot. Send us a hell yeah. Send us a GIF, whatever you want. We definitely appreciate that. We'll try to send it out, retweet it best we can, whatever else. But yeah, Chris, let's stay hot.
Right, we want to promote you guys. We want to see you guys winning as well. Again, that's a big part of what we got going on here. So share that with us again over at Twitter at Woodward Bets. Make sure you're following the network at Woodward Sports, and make sure you guys go and check out Underdog Fantasy and take advantage of our promo offer over there. $10 free on a $10 deposit using promo code WSN. Tomorrow, Scott, it'll be you and Beastie. I am taking a day here. I want to wish an early happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there, all the military folks, active duty. Appreciate all of your service. I did serve the country as well, so I'm going to take the day tomorrow and enjoy it with the wife. But I want to say thank you to everybody out there for your service. It means a lot. So, Scott, good luck tonight to you. Good luck to all the people out there. And you guys crush it tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday, so looking forward to that. For Scott, for our boys behind the glass, Spencer and Easy, I am Beer. We are Woodward Bets. Thank you for watching. Good luck in your bets and your DFS tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.